Tissues. From the last chapter, we recall that all living organisms are made up of cells. In unicellular organism, a single cell performs all basic functions. For example, in amoeba, a single cell carries out movement, intake of food, gaseous exchange, and excretion. But in multicellular organism, there are millions of cells. Most of these cells are specialized to carry out specific function. Each specialized function is take up a different group of cells. Since the cells carry out only particular function, they do it very efficiently in human beings. Mm, Muscle cells contract and relax to cause movement. Nerve cells carries message. Blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones and waste material and so on. In plant, vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part of the plant to the other parts. So, multicellular organisms show division of labor. Cells specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. This means that a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. This cluster of cells, called a tissue, is arranged and designed so as to give the highest possible efficiency of function. Blood, phloem, and muscles are all examples of tissues. A group of cells that are similar in structure and are work together to achieve a particular function forms a tissue. Are plants and animals made of same type of tissues? Let us compare the structure and functions. Do plants and animals have the same structure? Do they both perform similar function? There are noticeable differences between the two. Plants and stationary are fixed. Do not move since they have to be upright. They have a large quantity of supportive tissue. The supportive tissue generally has dead cell. Animals, on the other hand, move around in search of food, mates, and shelter. They consume more energy as compared to plants. Most of the tissue they contain are living. Another difference between animals and plants is in the pattern of growth. The growth in plants is limited to certain region, while this is not so in animals. There are some tissues in plants that divided throughout their life. These tissues are localized in certain region. Based on the dividing capacity of the tissues, various plants tissues can be classified as growing or meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Cells growth in animals is more uniform, so there is no such demarcation of dividing and non-dividing regions in animals. The structure of organization of organ and organ system is far more specialized and localized in complex animals than even in very complex plant. This fundamental difference reflects the different modes of life pursued by these two major groups of organisms, particularly in the different feeding methods. Also, they are differently adapted for a sedentary existence on one hand and active locomotion on other hand, contributing to this different in organ system design. It is with the reference to these complex animals and plant bodies that we will now talk about the concept of tissue in some details. What is a tissue? What is utility of tissue in multicellular meristematic tissue? The growth of root onion bulbs. Take two glass jars and fill them with water. Now take two onion bulbs and place on the each jar as shown in figure 6.1. Observe the growth of root in the both the bulb of few days. Measure the length of roots on the day 1, 2, 3. On day 4, cut the root tips of the onion bulb in jar 2 by about 1 cm. After this, observe the growth of root in both jars and measures their length each day for 5 more days and record the observation in tables like the table below. From the above observation, answer the following question: which of the two onion has longer roots? Why? Do the roots continue growing even after we have removed the tips? Why would the tips stop growing in jar 2 after we cut them? The growth of plants occur only in certain specific region. This is because the dividing tissues, also known as meristematic tissue, is located only at these points. Depending on the region where they are present, Meristematic tissues are classified as apical, lateral, and intercalary. New cells produced by meristem are initially like those of meristem itself, but as they grow and mature, their characters slowly change and they become differentiated as components of the other tissue. Apical meristem, intercalary meristem, lateral meristem. Apical meristem is present at the growing tip of the stem and roots and increase the length of stem and the roots. The girth of the stem or roots increases due to lateral meristem. Cambium. Intercalary meristem seen in some plants is located near the node. Cells of meristematic tissue are very active. They have dense cytoplasma, thin cellulose walls and prominent nuclei. They lack vacuoles. Can we think why they would lack vacuoles? You might want to refer to the function of vacuoles in the chapter on cells. Permanent tissue. What happened to the cells formed meristematic tissue? They take up a specific role and lost the ability to divide. As a result, they perform a permanent tissue. This process of taking up the permanent shape, size, and function is called differentiation. Differentiation leads to the development of various types of permanent tissues. Activity 6.2. Take a plant stem with the help of your teacher, cut into very thin slices or sections. Now stain the slices with saffron, place one neatly cut section on the side and put a drop of glycerin. Cover with a cover slip and observe under a microscope. Observe the various types of cells and their arrangements. Compare it with figure 6.3. Now answer the following one the basis of your observation. Are all cells similar in structure? How many types of cells can be seen? Can we think the reason why there would be so many types of cells? We can also try to cut sections of plants' roots. We can even try cutting sections of roots and stem of the different plants. Simple permanent tissue. A few layers of cells beneath the epidermis are generally simple permanent tissue. Parenchyma is the most common simple permanent tissue. It consists of relatively unspecialized cells within cell wall. They are living cells. They are usually loosely arranged. Thus, large space between cells are found in this tissue. This tissue generally store food. In some situation, it contains chlorophyll and perform photosynthesis, and then it is called chlorenchyma. In an aquatic plants, large air cavities are present in parenchyma to help them float. Such a parenchyma type is called arenchyma. The flexibility is plants is due to another permanent tissue, collenchyma. It also allows bending of various parts of plants like tendrils and stem of climber without breaking. It also provides mechanical support. We can find this tissue leaf stalk below the epidermis. The cells of this tissue are living, elongated and regularly thickened at the corners. There is a very little intercircular space. Intercircular space, wall thickening nucleus, vacuole cell wall, thick lignified wall, narrow lumen, lignified thick wall. Various types of simple tissues, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, transverse section, longitudinal section. Yet another type of permanent tissue is sclerenchyma. It is the tissue which makes the plants hard and stiff. We have seen the husk of the coconut. It is made up of sclerenchymatous tissue. The cells of the tissue are dead. They are long and narrow as well or thick due to lignin. Often these walls are so thick that there is no internal space inside the cell. This tissue is present in stem around vascular bundles, in the veins of leaves and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts. It provides strength to the plant's parts. Take a freshly plucked leaf of rue, stretch and break it by applying pressure. While breaking it, keep it stretched gently so that some peel or skin projects out from the cut. Remove this peel and put it in a petri dish filled with water. Add a few drops of saffron, wait for a couple of minutes and then transfer it onto a slide. Gently place a cover slip over it. Observe under microscope. What you observe in the outermost layer of cells called epidermis. The epidermis is usually made up of single layer of cell. In some plants living in very dry habitat, the epidermis may be thicker since protecting against water loss is critical. The entire surface of plant has an outer covering epidermis. It protects all parts of plants. Epidermical cells on the aerial part of the plant often segregate a waxy water resistance layer on the outer surface. The aids of protection against loss of water, mechanically injury and invasion of by parasitic fungi. Since it has a protective role to play, cells of epidermal tissue for a continuous layer without intercellular space. Most epidermal cells are relatively flat. Often, their outer of the side walls are thicker than the inner wall. We can observe small pores here and there in the epidermis of the leaf. These pores are called stomata. Stomata are enclosed by two kidney-shaped cells called guard cells. They are necessary for exchanging gases with the atmosphere. Transpiration, loss of water in the form of water vapor also takes place through the stomata. Recall which gas is required for photosynthesis. Find out the role of transpiration in plants. Epidermal cells of the root, those function is water absorption, commonly bear long hair-like parts that greatly increase the total absorbed surface area. In some plants like desert plants, epidermis has a thick waxy coating of cutin on its outer surface. Can we think of this reason for this? This is outer layer of branch of tree different from the outer layer of young stem. As plants grow older, the outer protective tissue undergoes certain changes. A strip of secondary meristem located in the cortex from layer of cells which constitute the cork. Cells of cork are dead and compactly arranged without intercellular space. They also have a substance called suberin in their walls that makes them impervious to gases and water. Complex permanent tissue. The different types of tissue we have discussed until now are all made up of one type of cells which look like each other. Such tissues are called simple permanent tissue. Yet another type of permanent tissue is complex tissue. Complex tissue are made up of more than one type of cells. All these cells coordinate to perform a common function. Xylem and phloem are examples of such complex tissues. They are both conducting tissues and constitute a vascular bundle. Vascular tissues is a distinctive feature of the complex plant on that has made possible their survival in the terrestrial environment. In figure 6.3 showing a section of stem, can you see different types of cells in the vascular bundle? Xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Tracheids and vessels have a thick walls and many are dead cells when mature. Tracheids and vessels are tubular structures. This allows them to transport water and minerals vertically. The parenchyma store food. Xylem fibers are mainly supportive in function. Phloem is made up of 5 types of cells: sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Sieve tubes are tubular cells with perforated walls. Phloem transported food from the leaves to the other part of the plant. Expected phloem fibers. Other phloem cells are living cells. Name the type of simple tissue where the apical meristem found. What tissues make up husk of the coconut? What are the constitute of phloem? Animal tissue. When we breathe, we can actually feel the movement of your chest. How do these body parts move? For this, we have specialized cells called muscle cells. The contraction of relaxation of these cells result in movement. During breathing, inhaling oxygen, where does this oxygen go? It is absorbed in your lungs and is transported to all body cells through blood. Why would cells need oxygen? The function of mitochondria we studied earlier provide a clue to this question. Blood flow and carries various substances from one part of the body to the other. For example, it carries oxygen and food to all cells. It also collects waste from all parts of the body and carries them to the liver and kidney for disposal. Blood and muscles are both examples of tissue found in our body. On the basis of the function they perform, we can think different types of animal tissues, such as epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. Body is a type of connective tissue, and blood forms a muscular tissue. Epithelial tissue, the covering protective tissue in the animal body or epithelial tissue. Epithelium covers most organs and cavities within the body. It also forms a barrier to keep different body systems separate. The skin, the lining of the mouth, the lining of blood vessels, lungs, alveoli, and kidney tubes are all made up of epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissue cells are tightly packed and form a continuous sheet. They have only small amount of cementing material between them and almost no intercellular space. Obviously, anything entering or leaving the body must cross at least one layer of epithelium. As a result, the permeability of the cells of various epithelium play an important role in regulating the exchange of material between the body and the external environment and also between different parts of the body. Regardless of type, a epithelium is usually separated from the underlying tissue by an extracellular cellular fibrous basement membranes. Different epithelial show differing structures that correlate with the unique function. For example, in cells lining blood vessels or lung alveoli, where transporting of substance occur through selectively permeable surface, there are a simple flat kind of epithelium. This is called simple squamous epithelium. Squamous means square of skin. Simple squamous epithelium cells are extremely thin and flat from the a delicate lining, and esophagus and lining of the mouth are also covered with squamous epithelium. The skin which protects the body is also made up of squamous epithelium. Skin epithelium cells are arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tear. Since they are arranged in a pattern of layer, the epithelium is called stratified squamous epithelium, where absorption and secretion occurs. As in the inner lining of the intestine, tall epithelial cells are present. This columnar epithelium facilitate movement across the epithelial berries in separate of tract. The columnar epithelium tissues also has cilia, which are hair-like protection and outer surface of epithelial cells. The cilia can move and their movement pushes the mucus forward to clear it. This type of epithelial is the ciliated columnar epithelium. Cuboidal epithelium forms the lining of kidney tubules and duct of salivary glands, where it provides mechanical support. Epithelial cell often acquire additional specialization as glands cells which can secrete substance and epithelial surface. Sometimes a portion of epithelial tissue floods inward and multicellular gland is formed. This glandular epithelium, connective tissue. Blood is a type of connective tissue. Why would it be called connective tissue? A clue is provided in the introduction of the chapter. Now let us look at this type of a tissue in some more details. The cell is a connective tissue or loosely placed and embedded in an intercellular matrix. The matrix may be jelly-like fluid, dense or rich. The nature of matrix differs in concordance and function of the particular connective tissue. Activity 6.4. Take a drop of blood and slide observe the different cells present in the under a microscope. Blood has a fluid matrix called plasma, in which red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, and platelets are suspended. The plasma contains protein, salts, and hormones. Blood flows and transport gases, digested food, hormones, and waste material to different parts of the body. Bones is another example of connective tissue. It forms the framework to support the body. It also anchors the muscles and supports the main organs of the body. It is a strong and non-flexible tissue. Bone cells are embedded in the hard matrix that is composed of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Two bones can be connected to each other. Another type of connective tissue called ligament. This tissue is very elastic. It has considerable strength. Ligament contain very little matrix and connect bones with bones. Tendons connect muscle to bones and are the another type of connective tissue. Tendons are fibrous tissues with great strength but limited flexibility. Another type of connective tissue, cartilage, has widely spaced cell. Solid matrix is composed of protein and sugar. Cartilage smooth and bone surface at joints and is also present in nose, ear, trachea and larynx. We can fold the cartilage of the ear but we cannot bend the bone of our arm. Think of how two tissues are different. Aurolar connective tissue is found between the skin and muscles, around blood vessels and nerves and in the bone marrow. It fills the space inside the organ, supports internal organs and help in repair of tissues. Where are fats stored in our body? Fat storing adipose tissue is found below the skin and between internal organs. Cells of this tissue are filled with fat globules. Storage of fats also lets it act as an insulator. Muscular tissue. Muscular tissue consists of elongated cell, also muscle fibers. This tissue is responsible for movement in our body. Muscles. Muscles contain special protein called contractile protein, which contract and relax to cause movement, which can move. Some muscles are conscious will. Muscles present in our limbs move when we want them to and stop when we so decide. Such muscles are called voluntary muscles. These muscles are also skeletal muscles as these are mostly attached to the bones and help in body movement under the microscope. These muscles show alternate light and dark bands or striations when stained appropriately. As the result, they are also called striate muscles. The cells of this tissue are long, cylindrical, unbranched, and multinucleated. The movement of food in the alimentary canal or the contraction and relaxation of blood vessels are involuntary movement. We cannot really start them or stop them simply by wanting to do so. Smooth muscle or voluntary muscles control such movement. They are also found in the iris of the eyes, in uterus and in bronchi of the lungs. The cells are long with pointed ends, spindle shaped and uninucleated, having a single nuclei. They are also called unsaturated muscles. They we call that the muscle of the heart show rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout life. These involuntary muscles are found cardiac muscle. Heart muscles cells are cylindrical, branched and uninucleated. Compare the structure of different types of muscular tissue. Note down the shape, number of nuclei and positions nuclei within the cell in table 6.1. Nervous tissue. A cell possesses the ability to respond stimuli. However, cells of the nervous tissue are highly specialized for being stimulated and then transmitting the stimulus every rapid from one place to another within the body. The brain, spinal cord, and nerve are composed of nervous tissues. The cells of these tissues are called nervous cells or neurons. A neuron consists of a cell body with a nucleus and cytoplasma from which a long thin hair-like parts arise. Usually each neuron has a single long part called axon and many short branched parts called dendrites. An individual nerve cell may be up to a matrix along. Many nerve fibers bound together by connective tissue make up a nerve. The signal that passes along with the nerve, a fiber, is called a nerve impulse. Nerve impulse allows us to move our muscle when we want to. The functional combination of a nerve and muscle tissue is fundamental to most animals. The combination enables animal to move rapid in the response stimuli. Name the tissue responsible for movement in our body. What does neuron look like? Give three features of cardiac muscle. What are functions of areolar? What have learned? Tissue is a group of cells similar in structure and functions. Plant tissue are two main types, meristematic and permanent. Meristematic tissue is a dividing tissue present in the growing region of the plant. Permanent tissue are derived from meristematic tissue once they lost the ability to divide. They are classified simple and complex tissue. Parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma are three types of simple tissues. Xylem and phloem are type of complex tissues. Animals' tissue can be epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous tissue. Depending on the shape of function, epithelial tissue is classified in squamous, cuboidal, columnar, ciliated, and gadular.